no numbers, there's no pictures, there's no videos, there's no gameplay. I don't like it.
Yo, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope everyone's having a good day so far. And today, Freemers, we are back with another Palia video. So today we are going to be talking about something that I haven't really picked up on until now because of the whole chatty plush thing. And real quick, I'm probably every time we bring up the whole chatty plush, I am going to talk about you know, the whole announcement of it just at the beginning of this video, just kind of get you guys up to speed if you don't know what I'm talking about. But without further ado, we're just going to dive into this. I believe that, well, I think we need to just, I'm going to prepare you guys for it. Let's dive on into this. So kind of to start here is, well, we're going to read these two blurbs from Singularity 6 and then move on to the main topic of this video. Free Realms Chatty Plush. Ever since we announced Palia, we've had tons of players tell us that it reminds them of a very special game from back in the day called Free Realms. Since launching, we've had a ton of players tell us that it brought some of that magic back for them. In honor of this, we've asked our friends over at Daybreak Game Company if we could put a little something from Free Realms into Palia. And as a homage to the current Palians who still have that love for their time in Free Realms, you might find a somewhat familiar face, Chatty the Plush. Now, it's not like concrete as to why Singular 6 chose specifically Chatty. They could have picked anything from Free Realms to bring back into Palia. They chose Chatty for a reason, and we're going to dive into that reason here in a second. From noon PT today until Tuesday, July 1st, anyone who watches 6 hours of their favorite Palia Twitch drops enabled content creator will be rewarded with the Chatty Plush. This is a way of us saying thanks to the games that came before us. Additionally, he'll be added as a drop in Zeki's Wondrous Machine from this patch onward. If you're not a Free Realms fan, then enjoy the Q Plush. But if you are, just remember that, like in Free Realms, in Palia, you rule. And then Free Realms and Chatty are TM, copyright 2025 Daybreak Game Company LLC. Now, the main thing I want to talk about here is it's kind of like, I don't know why I didn't pick up on this sooner, but I want everyone to pay attention to this image. So there's three things here. There's the Lucky Zeki on the counter, which, I mean, I think it is there normally, but I could be wrong. But I think Singular 6 placed that there specifically, but I'm pretty sure the Lucky Zeki's there anyway. And then you got Zeki in the background, and you have Chatty in the forefront. This is when they showed off the image. They showed him off here because he's going to be in the Wondrous Machine as well as on Twitch drops. But the point of this video that I want to make is, I believe, so the only Grimalkin we've seen is Zeki, but we do know there's more of them. We know there's at least in lore, there's been two other Grimalkins mentioned, that being Prismbeard, and then his brother, which I haven't even gone into lore-wise. I need to read the lore. But there are a lot of Grimalkins out there. I'm hoping we get to meet another one, but as far as we know, there's more. There's also the Grimalkin cartel, which we're going to go into this video here a little bit about. But the point I want to make is, I believe Palia's Grimalkins are inspired by Free Realms Treebles. And I don't know if Chatty was the inspiration, because Chatty's not the only Treeble. There's three others, at least in game, that I have actually given characters for, like in the lore I've written for Free Realms Sunrise. If you want to read that lore, go ahead and do it. The lore started in Sunrise Stories, and then ended in the Realm War. But the point I'm making is, like, I do believe that if, you know, again, there's been a rumor that, like, the people who worked on Free Realms are working on Palia. At least some staff were a part of that team. And if that's the case, dude, it's uncanny. Like, there's so many characteristics that, like, are similar with Chatty and Zeki here. The main thing for me, it's the ears. Like, dude, the curve on the ears is uncanny. Like, obviously, so Zeki, I believe, is like, you know, I believe his inspiration is not Chatty. I mean, it could, I don't know. I do think the Treebles inspired Zeki's design, or at least inspired the Grimalkin design, because I don't know. And the fact that he has 4 ears is also crazy, by the way. But yeah, it's uncanny. It's the ears for me. The ears just, I looked at them, I'm like, wait a minute, because like if that's the case, then I love Zeki even more. Now, obviously, I think the first thing everyone's going to go to is, like, you know, Zeki, this little guy here, doesn't really look like Chatty, because Chatty's inspiration was a flying squirrel. And I don't know if he's crossed with, like I don't want to say, like, maybe a skunk was the crossover, like a flying squirrel meet a skunk. Because that's kind of what it looks like. But I think Zeki's main inspiration, it definitely was a cat. I mean, it's uncanny. And there's also things that nod to because Zeki likes sushi. And I don't know, like, there's things like you could give him stuff that relate to a cat and he'll take them, I believe. But even though the main inspiration is probably a cat, it's the ears, man. The ears on a cat, I mean, they kind of match this, but I think Singularity 6 did their own design on it. But I do want to say, like, Chatty had a play in the inspiration process here. But I don't know. I mean, obviously cat, because whiskers, the nose, maybe not the teeth, the eyes for sure. I do want to think the Treebles had a role to play in this creation process. Just there's, I don't know. It's too uncanny. And we're going to dive in here, but there's a lot of different things. So I did pull a lot of concept art and designs from Chatty and both Chatty and Zeki, just to kind of give you guys an idea. Now, obviously, Zeki here doesn't have, I mean, we can go back to this image, but Zeki doesn't really have, like, he's got fur, full-on fur, and so does Chatty, but the tail design, I think it's weird. It might more resemble like a doggo, but like I think Zeki's tail is a bit smaller. It wouldn't resemble a cat because like a cat's is like super straight and long. But I don't know. It's pretty closer to Chatty's tail than it is to a cat, but I'm not too sure about that. Also, the hair. So Chatty's hair is like it's like light blue, dark blue. And then Zeki doesn't really have that like faux hawk or whatever it is, but he has like sort of like, you can see it here. It's like a little stubble of hair on top, which is interesting thing because cats don't have that, but Chatty does. Chatty has a thing of hair all across his head. So, you know, to say like I don't know, to say like that's one inspiration, could be that, but couple of other things like difference wise, so cats, both the cat here and then Chatty, they don't wear clothes. Like, clothes are not a thing because Treebles, they're free to roam in the wild. They live in the Greenwood Forest. But obviously, like, Palia is kind of like, it's all about like not high class society, but like you should be wearing clothing at all times, right? And obviously Zeki without clothes or Grimalkin without clothes might look really weird. But yeah, Zeki is like fully clothed here, so I don't know where that inspiration came from. I get like a treasure, I don't know why, because there's pirate stuff connected to like Prison Beard and Grimalkins as well, but like Zeki, it feels like the inspiration here was Treasure Planet, and I don't know if that was the inspiration, but it's pretty spot on. Now, moving on to the next image, this is just like a still. I mean, dude, look at this. I know I might be reaching with some of these, you know, allegations against Zeki, but like, or against Singularity 6, I do think these two images right here, it could not be more iconic, dude. Like this is Chatty's stance for like for the commercial, for like the ads, you know. And this is the one Chatty image you always see, and this is one of the poses Zeki does. He smiles like, dude, that is uncanny. Now the eye color of Chatty does not again, Zeki's more resembles a cat, but Chatty here it's more like blue, so eye color is not the same there. But also you get kind of like, I mean, look at the ears, man. I don't know, there's something there. Also, no, again, Chatty is based off of like a flying squirrel mixed with a, I don't know, a skunk or a raccoon, something like that. And also Chatty can fly. Zeki cannot. Zeki is a land creature. Grimalkins do not fly. So there's that. Also, like, Zeki is wearing jewelry, which is another thing to note. Chatty does not wear a thing. So there's that. Also, the eye patch. I'm assuming that's Treasure Planet inspired. I don't know. But yeah, dude, I can't help the feeling of looking at Chatty. I'm like, there's a reason he put his plush specifically in the game. Like, they could have put anything else in it from Free Realms into the game. They chose Chatty because I think he was partly inspiration for Zeki and just for Grimalkins in general, if we get more Grimalkins, because we've only heard about them in the lore, you know. Now, moving on from this image, we also are going to go into kind of concept art models. So this is like Chatty's main, like, I don't know. It's so weird because they gave Zeki like a he has a bunch of like signature, like he's got like one where he's scared. But I chose this one because it's just him finger gun pointing. And you look at Chatty, he's just sitting. So like, to choose like, I don't know, certain styles, it's interesting. Also, you get a full view of the tail here. I mean, it's not like virtually the same. I mean, dude, look at the tail. It's pretty close. Color's not there. It's not the same length as Chatty's, but it could be close, you know. And I don't know, just like the fact that Chatty had a bunch of like signature poses, and then they do it for Zeki too. It's interesting. Again, just something else I wanted to point out. And then jumping into concept art, because there's concept art of what Chatty looked like before his final form. I don't know. This is the only concept art I could find of Zeki, like, but it's like finished. So it's hard to say whether or not there was concept art before the finished version of Zeki. But like, looking at the pre-versions of Chatty, it is uncanny. Like, the tail before it was finished looks like what Zeki's looked like. And also, notice in the concept art how there's two layers here first. So there's, I mean, it's not how it looks like in game, but there's like this layer of color here and this layer of color, and then Chatty's got kind of the same thing going on, but he's got 3 layers of color. That's the difference. He's got blue, orange, and then beige, which Zeki only has 2 here, but maybe he has 3, I don't know. But the point being is, like, I think it's too good to be like, I don't know. It's hard to say. And also, like, there's so many different variations of what Chatty could have been. I think the one that probably looks more like Zeki is probably this one right here. This is probably the closest we would have gotten to having a look-alike here. But yeah, super interesting that they were pretty close. And also, like, waving there, just, you can see the pre-images. You could see, like, they probably, again, if there is someone that works at Singular 6 that worked on Free Realms, which is a rumor, it's not true. If that's the case, they would have gone back and looked at this concept art and been like, we need to create a character that's not just a Majiri, you know? It's super interesting. And then, how much, oh, we got this last one. So the last thing I want to touch on here is a huge difference between Chatty and Zeki. What probably wouldn't make them, like, one and the same. And it's a lot here, but like, the thing between the difference between Chatty and Zeki as a whole, and probably, you know, Singular 6 probably want to make a distinction between the two if they were borrowing from Chatty here. It's their characteristics. So Zeki is super greedy and is kind of like, he's a good guy, but he's not a good guy. Like, he does break the law a lot, you know? But then you got Chatty. He's the mascot of Free Realms. He cares about people. He wants to help people. And he has his own little Team Chatty thing going on. Meanwhile, you got Zeki over here. He runs his own underground black market. He works with the Grimalkin cartel, kind of. He kind of does it forcefully, but he does work with them. And all he cares about is money. But Chatty only cares about helping people. So there's a huge difference between the two, and I think, like, Zeki is the flip side of Chatty in that sense. You know, it's very interesting. You could almost say Zeki has the characteristics of Robbie, the Rob Goblins, you know, that kind of characteristic, because all the Rob Goblins care about are finding valuables, collecting trash. They are pretty greedy. They are self-centered, and it's interesting to, like, look at all of this and go, what the inspiration for the Grimalkin might have been Treebles to some extent, you know, and they probably looked at, like, characters in Free Realms that you couldn't play as, but I don't know. I think, like, Free Realms had so many interesting races, and I think Singular 6 probably pulled inspiration from Free Realms in that regard. But again, I don't know. I could be reaching. If you guys think I'm right, I mean, I don't know, get in contact with Singular 6 and be like, hey, is this true? Did you guys look at Free Realms for inspiration here? Because there's a chance. I didn't think about it until the plushie came out, and I was like, wait a minute. They kind of look similar. But I don't know. Maybe I'm reaching. But anywho, I just wanted to talk about this, give you guys my thoughts on this. But anywho, thank you guys for watching, hanging out. I appreciate it a ton. And I will see you guys in the next video. And yeah, goodbye.